Despite what people say about the isekai genre, it's still one of my favorite genres to watch even if there's more trash than gold, but when you find that one good one, it will stay with you forever. That's why when I heard ReZero will finally return, I just had to rewatch the entire series to prepare for the upcoming season 3. So to help refresh everyone's memory as well, I'll be doing a 3-part series recapping the events that happened so far. Obviously, this video will have spoilers, so you have been warned. Also, if you enjoyed the video and want more anime content, feel free to leave a like and remember to subscribe to the channel as well. It really helps. Now, before I go over Season 1, I want to first cover the prequel story Bonds of Ice, which is an OVA movie that covers Emilia's life 7 years before she was chosen to participate in the royal selection. The OVA mainly provides some context regarding Emilia's character, like her personality and mindset, as well as her relationship with Park and their time spent together. It also provides some backstory to the events that will happen in Season 2. So having said that, it starts with a few lines of dialogue which will later be revealed to be an oath that Park made long ago with someone to watch over Emilia. After the text, we are shown the Great Aleo Forest, where a family is being attacked by a snow blight, but Emilia soon arrives to save the family by killing the monster with her ice flower magic. However, she starts to lose control and this causes the family to panic, especially when they realize Emilia resembles Satella, the Witch of Envy. It's here we get an idea of the prejudice that Emilia faces because of her appearance and why she is always so apprehensive and nervous around others. But continuing on, Emilia wakes up in her home and she will be doing her usual chores like attending to the frozen people, collecting magic ores to be sold, or mapping the layout of the forest. She eventually ran low on rations, so she had to visit the local human village and you can see how much contempt and prejudice they had towards her. She manages to get her supplies along with a new pair of shoes, and the fact that she was so happy just having the merchant talk to her more says a lot about how lonely she must have felt. Anyways, the following day, she repeats her usual routine and was greeted by Park, but when they returned home, he had disappeared because he was dealing with one of the eyes of Malaquera, the Great Spirit of Fire. The next day, Emilia would wake up crying from a recurring dream which was actually a forgotten memory of her first meeting with Park. Afterwards, Emilia went out to map the forest and she would encounter a group of men led by someone named Chap who wanted to capture her and sell her into slavery. They would threaten to harm the villagers, which forces Emilia to cooperate, showing that despite the prejudice she faced, she still cared about others. So Emilia decides to reveal her face, hoping it would be enough to scare the man, but Chap wasn't afraid. Instead, he wanted to keep Emilia for himself. Now, although he was quite a terrible person, but hey, at least he did not discriminate against Emilia's appearance, unlike those villagers. But jokes aside, because her initial plans to scare them failed, she uses her close combat skills to easily take down some of the men and tries to reason with them once again. However, it was too late as a snow blight soon appears, killing some of the men, so Emilia was forced to use her ice flower magic to kill the monster, but like before, she lost control of her powers. Park then arrives just in time to stop her magic by putting her to sleep and giving the man a warning before bringing her home. Also, it wasn't actually shown here, but in the original story, her ice flower magic had apparently spread to the village as well. That's why when she awakens and went to check on them, the merchant begged her to never return. You can tell that it made Emilia very depressed, but despite that, she still asked about the safety of the villagers first and willingly accepted all their hate. Later we see Chap begging his superior for more men to take revenge against Emilia, but Park soon appears to threaten him once again, making the men flee in terror. It was also revealed that Park had another name called the Beast of the End. After fleeing into an alleyway, Chap will be consumed by a red orb belonging to Malaquera, but he'll return later. Back to Emilia, she told Park about what happened at the village, so he tries convincing her to leave the forest but she refuses. So to help Emilia protect herself, Park decides to teach her how to form a contract with lesser spirits. After teaching her, he leaves to search for spirits that she can make contracts with, and he'll encounter Malaquera again, but he manages to force the Great Fire Spirit to retreat. Emilia wakes up crying from her dream again, but this time it was more vivid, and she was greeted by lesser spirits. She later left to map the forest, where she saw a guilty lout getting consumed by a dark sentient mass called Kurohabi, also known as the Black Serpent, one of the 3 great demon beasts. The Black Serpent would chase after Emilia, but she was able to freeze the creature, although Park later reveals that she failed to kill it. He then decides to help Emilia investigate the Black Serpent while asking her to stay at home. When he arrives at the location of the Black Serpent, he was attacked by Malaquera and a fight soon breaks out. Meanwhile, Emilia decides to help Park, so she headed towards his location, but on the way, she encounters a red lesser spirit that guided her to the location of the Black Serpent. When she fought the Black Serpent, she was able to release and control her powers thanks to a lesser spirit, defeating the creature in the process. But the same red lesser spirit who was revealed to be Chap, now a vessel for Malaquera, destroys all her lesser spirits. After learning the truth about her own existence and burdened by it, she finally calls out to Park so he arrives to defeat Chap. She would then confront Park about her being a half-elf, but when he tries to comfort her, he was attacked by Malaquera. But wanting to protect Emilia, Park decides to form a contract with her at the cost of losing himself and all his memories. She reluctantly agrees and the contract was completed, allowing Park to borrow the immense mana reserves of Emilia to transform into his Beast of the End form to fight Malaquera. They tried appealing to Malaquera once more, and even though the spirit acknowledged their resolve, he was still determined to kill Emilia. In the end, Park destroyed Malaquera and even took his place as the new Great Spirit of Fire. After the battle, Park and Emilia were enjoying the sunset together and she finally remembers the contents of her recurring dreams, so we get a flashback of her first meeting with Park while also revealing why she calls Park her father. There's also a post-credit scene, but it doesn't have anything important, so with that, the OVA movie ends. Now we can finally move on to Season 1. It starts by introducing us to Natsuki Subaru returning home from the convenience store, but in the blink of an eye, he was transported to another world. And the way rezero portrays how Subaru reacted to the situation was quite realistic, because under normal circumstances, you will probably be quite lost or be oblivious to the culture of a different world and likely have a horrible experience like what happened with Subaru when he arrived. Regardless, he later meets Emilia and Park when they saved him from 3 dudes that were trying to rob him. So to repay her kindness, he decides to help Emilia recover a Royal Selection insignia which was stolen by Felt, the girl that briefly appeared at the beginning. And due to her apprehension about trusting others, she introduces herself as Satella and revealing that she is a half-elf, thinking that it will scare Subaru away. But he wasn't from this world, so the name had no meaning to him, which definitely surprised Emilia. In any case, they found Felt's location, so they headed towards the loot house belonging to Old Man Rom, but inside, they will all be murdered by the assassin Elsa Greenheart. It's here we are introduced to the gimmick of the show. Subaru essentially has an ability called Return by Death, which will always return him to a random save point in time if he dies. And further down the story, it was revealed that the Wish of Envy Satella actually gave him this ability. With his first death, Subaru finds himself back at the fruit store confused, so he quickly returns to Rom's loot house to negotiate for the insignia, but Elsa arrives as well. When the negotiations failed, Elsa again murders everyone. He resets for a second time and this time he decides to find Emilia first, but because he only knows her as Satella, it greatly offended her. After blowing his first impressions with Emilia, he was killed by the 3 dudes in the alleyway. In his third reset, he starts to understand how his powers work, so meeting the 3 dudes again, he calls for help, but instead of Emilia coming to his rescue, it was the Sword Saint Reinhardt that appears. Subaru then decides to head towards the loot house, but before leaving, he asks Reinhardt to leave a message for Emilia. He manages to find Felt outside, but because she did not trust him, they still went to the loot house. During their negotiations, Emilia arrives at the loot house as well, demanding Felt to return her insignia, but they were interrupted by Elsa. Emilia and Park would then fight Elsa, but when Park had to sleep, Elsa was now getting the upper hand, so Subaru asked Felt to escape. She manages to escape while calling for help. That was when she ran into Reinhardt, who arrived just in time to defeat Elsa with an overpowered attack, but she did not die from it. Instead, she tried to kill Emilia, although Subaru manages to block her attack. The insignia was then returned to Emilia and Subaru finally learns her true name. However, when he tried protecting Emilia, he was heavily injured, so she brought him back to Rosewall Manor. Also, Felt was forcefully taken away by Reinhardt because she is worthy to be part of the Royal Selection as well. At Rosewall Manor, Subaru awakens to find no one, so he starts exploring the mansion and he will meet Beatrice, an artificial lolly spirit created by the Wish of Greed Echidna, but because of his behavior, she drains some of his mana, causing him to lose consciousness. When he reawakens, he was greeted by the twin sister maids Ram and Ram respectively. This would also become Subaru's new save point, which we will find out later. Shortly after, Subaru was invited to dine with the Lord of the Manor, Rosewall Almeidas, but he initially mistakes him for a jester. Good thing he wasn't offended. Nonetheless, Rosewall starts to explain the current state of affairs within the Kingdom of Lugunica and that Emilia was a candidate in the upcoming Royal Selection. That's why the Royal Insignia was so important, and because Subaru helped Emilia recover it, he was allowed to request for any reward. He asked to work at the mansion, and over the next few days, he will begin his job as a butler, although he seemed to be terrible at everything. Also, I completely forgot how rude the twin maids used to act towards Subaru. Regardless, he was enjoying his time at the mansion and even set up a date with Emilia, but the next time he wakes up, he realized that he has died in his sleep and resets for the first time. His death was actually caused by a curse that drains all his mana, which he got from a dog bite. So he tries to figure out how he died and followed the same course of events as before, and it seems that in this reset, his relationship with the twins were much better as well. Ram even taught him how to read and write, while he also spent some time with Ram at the nearby Alum village. It was in this village that he got cursed, although this time he did not die from the curse. Instead, he was killed by an unknown assailant who was later revealed to be Ram. Now she kills Subaru because when he uses Return by Death, he will be tainted by the witch's miasma, causing Ram to think that Subaru was with the witch cult and was planning to harm Emilia. Thus he resets for a second time, and this time he decides to be a freeloader so that he can investigate his mysterious deaths, although in the end, he still gets killed by Ram. In the third reset, he was in shock after seeing Ram, and when he tried telling Emilia about his Return by Death ability, the Wish of Envy stopped him. With no other choice, Subaru asked Beatrice for help and he managed to survive, but this time, because he did not accompany Ram to the village, she was the one that died from the curse, and Ram blamed Subaru for her death. He ran away from the mansion, but realizing that he was a coward and that the twins did so much for him, he decides to end himself in order to save them. For this fourth reset, he continues with the same path as his first reset while trying to earn everyone's trust. He even learned magic from Puck, like the move Shamak, which will come in handy later, and also learns about the Wish of Envy Satella from Beatrice. However, he was overworking himself, which causes him to become mentally and physically exhausted, so Emilia decides to comfort him by letting the lucky bastard rest upon her lap. Later, when Subaru awakens, he was able to learn that the curse came from Alam village thanks to Beatrice, so the next day he visited the village alongside Ram and Ram. He then confirms that the doggo was indeed behind the curse, so he lives with Ram to save the children of the village. They manage to find the children, but they were soon attacked by a pack of Wolgums led by the demon doggo. Ram will use her Oni powers to fight the doggos, but she loses control and goes on a rampage. She was about to be killed when Subaru steps in to save her, but he was beaten numerous times by the doggos, so he was infected with their curses. They eventually escaped the forest with the children, although Ram later returned to exterminate the remaining Wolgums in order to save Subaru. When Subaru found out about this, he along with Ram went into the forest to rescue Ram. Then we see a flashback about Ram and Ram's childhood. We learn about Ram's inferiority complex along with how Ram lost a horn and that Ram blames herself for it. Returning to the present, Subaru uses his Return by Death to attract the Wolgums, which allowed them to find Ram, and Subaru was able to stop her rampage. They rescued Ram, but they were surrounded, so Subaru sacrificed himself while the twins escaped. He fought the transformed demon doggo, and using his Shamak, Rosewall was able to find his location and he easily destroyed all the monsters in the area. This also subsequently removed the curses on Subaru, and later he was able to have a deep conversation with Ram, greatly improving his relationship with her. And with that, Subaru finally went on his date with Emilia. Moving on, Emilia was summoned to the capital for the royal selection, and here we are introduced to Gigachad Wilhelm and Felix, the biggest trap ever.
It's a trap!
Now this particular arc was also quite contentious with fans because of the way Emilia and Subaru behaved, but mainly I thought it was needed to progress their relationship and Subaru's character. Maybe you might agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments. Although I do understand why people hated Subaru here, because he was honestly just clinging onto a version of Emilia that just doesn't exist anymore, and he's simply ignoring the current Emilia, pretending like he's being selfless when in reality, he was just doing it for his own ego. That said, Subaru followed Emilia to the capital, and even though she insisted that he doesn't attend the royal selection, he still decided to break his promise to her. At the royal selection, we are introduced to the various candidates along with their chosen attendants, and Feld was revealed to be the final candidate, marking the official start of the royal selection. Also during the royal selection, Subaru embarrasses and damages Emilia's credibility while also offending literally everyone within the room. He was promptly kicked out and still not learning his lesson. He caused even more trouble when he accepted to fight the Royal Knight Julius, and unsurprisingly, Subaru was utterly beaten. Because of his actions, Subaru was left behind in the capital with Ram to recover at House Caston as their guest. However, smooth-brained Subaru couldn't understand Emilia's reasoning and had a complete mental breakdown, blaming everything on her and how he was the only one able to save her. This caused Emilia to end their friendship, and if I was Subaru, I might have just reset the timeline to be free from the embarrassment. Now during his time at the Caston house, he trained with Wilhelm, but he was simply lying to himself about working hard. Later he had drinks with Krush and Felix, where they advised him to quickly make up with Emilia. The next day, Ram informs Subaru that something bad has happened at the mansion, so they quickly return home. On their way back, Ram left Subaru behind to protect him, but he manages to hire a merchant named Otto Suwon to bring him back to Rosewall's domain. When they reach the outskirts of the domain, Otto's ground dragon refuses to continue any further, so Subaru was forced to continue on foot. When he reaches Alam village, the witch cult had attacked and killed everyone, including Ram and Ram as well. Over at the mansion, Subaru finds a hidden room and he was frozen to death, causing him to reset to a new save point a few days after he was left behind in front of the fruit stall. However, this first reset was so traumatic that Subaru was now in a catatonic state, so Ram brought him back to the mansion, hoping that seeing Emilia will help him recover. On their way back, they were attacked by the witch cultists and Subaru was captured by them. Also, it's here that we are introduced to Betelgeuse Romani Conti, the Archbishop of Sloth.
Betelgeuse Romani Conti. This!
Ram eventually finds Subaru, but she was defeated and tortured to death by Beetlejuice. And with the last of her strength, she freed Subaru and he brought the corpse back to the mansion where Puck in his Beast of the End form appears to kill Subaru, hinting that Emilia has been killed by the Countess. In the second reset, he tries to appeal to the various royal selection candidates for help, but because he was behaving in a selfish manner and driven by his emotions for revenge, he failed at all the negotiations and was even ridiculed by some of them. Without any help, Subaru and Ram decided to return to Rosewall's domain before the Countess attacked to evacuate everyone. But before they reached Alum Village, the White Whale, one of the 3 great demon beasts, appeared, killing all the merchants they hired. To help Subaru and Otto escape, Ram sacrificed herself, and by doing so, it causes everyone except for Subaru to forget about her existence. Sadly, even with Ram's sacrifice, the White Whale was still chasing them, so Otto pushes Subaru off the carriage to escape, but he did not die. Instead, he made his way back to Alum Village and was nursed back to health by Emilia. When he awakens in the mansion, he tries to convince Emilia about the Countess and even tells her about his return by death, which kills her in the process. Beatrice soon appears to release Puck because Emilia has died and teleported them to the forest where Beetlejuice and the Countess appeared. When Beetlejuice tried to take Emilia's body, Puck appears to kill everyone including Subaru for failing to protect his daughter. Subaru then resets for a third time, and this time he tries to run away with Ram because he couldn't handle the pressure anymore, but she refuses and she gave him a long speech about how their life might have turned out and why she still believes in him no matter what. This manages to comfort Subaru, and Ram even confesses her true feelings for him, but he only seems for Emilia, so he indirectly rejected her. Having said that, Subaru regains his determination and resolve to fight, now truly starting from zero. Now, using what he learned from his previous resets, he manages to negotiate an alliance with Krush and Anastasia to save Emilia under the pretense of subjugating the White Whale. As they were preparing for the upcoming battle near Pfluger's Tree, Wilhelm thanks Subaru for giving him the chance to avenge his wife, the Sword Saint Teresa, who died trying to defeat the monster. The White Whale soon arrives and they began their assault on the monster, and it seemed like they were doing quite well. But when the White Whale releases its fog ability, many soldiers died, and it even summoned 2 powerful illusions to fight, which greatly demoralized everyone. However, Subaru wasn't planning on giving up, and his actions motivated everyone to fight back. He then used his witch's miasma to attract the main body to the surface, allowing them to crush the monster underneath Pfluger's Tree. As the monster was pinned down, Wilhelm took the chance to deal the final blow, and it was throughout this battle that we see glimpses of his past with his wife Teresa, giving some much needed sweet moment in an otherwise twisted series. With the White Whale defeated, Subaru earned the respect of everyone, and in recognition of his deeds, the Krush and Anastasia camp lent their forces to help him take down the Countess. They would begin their assault on the Countess and easily defeated them, even killing Beetlejuice in the process, but unbeknownst to them, he hasn't died and has the ability to possess members of his 10 fingers. When Subaru and the others were evacuating the villagers, some Countess managed to infiltrate the village, so a battle soon broke out. They eventually defeated all the Countess, even the remaining finger that Beetlejuice possessed was defeated by Emilia, showing Subaru that she isn't a helpless girl. But like I said, ReZero is a twisted show, and Subaru has to suffer somehow, so he becomes possessed by Beetlejuice, and before he loses control, he begs Ferris and Julius to kill him, which they reluctantly agree to. Subaru would now reset to a new save point right after they defeated the White Whale, and being mentally stronger, he was unfazed by his death and uses the new information he obtained to brief the others. They first made contact with Ram and Emilia to inform them about the Countess, then dealing with the Countess in the village and getting everyone to safety. Afterwards, they took down all the fingers as well, leaving Beetlejuice for last so that he can't possess them. Subaru would then confront him and was able to learn their reason for targeting Emilia, to have the Wish of Envy possess her. So with help from Julius, Subaru fought Beetlejuice and they managed to defeat the Archbishop. Also, when he tried possessing Subaru, this time he was rejected by the Wish of Envy. However, the battle wasn't over as the Countess still managed to hide explosive inside Emilia's carriage, so Subaru with help from Otto rushed to save them. On their way over, a manga Beetlejuice was chasing after them, but Subaru was able to defeat the Archbishop once and for all. They eventually made it to Emilia's carriage and Subaru was able to dispose of the explosives, although he was caught in the explosion. Luckily, he survived the blast and was now enjoying some much needed rest upon Emilia's lap. They would both reconcile and Subaru even confesses his love for Emilia, ending Season 1. There's also a cliffhanger at the end where Emilia states that she doesn't know who Ram was, basically a repeat on what has happened before.
レムって誰のこと?
So yeah, that was the recap for the ReZero OVA movie and Season 1, which mainly served to establish the world and develop the characters, definitely my favorite aspect about the series. I also found the way they utilized the return by death gimmick to be quite interesting and the twisted nature of the story is done really well. But what are your thoughts on the series? Did you enjoy the OVA movie and Season 1? Feel free to share your answers down below. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to share it with your friends and don't forget to leave a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button to be reminded when the recap for Season 2 will be released. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.